Three friends boarded Disney's Galactic Starcruiser to seek their destiny and emerged as heroes of the Halcyon.
Great sons, and welcome to Heroes of the Halcyon, the best, and to the best of our knowledge, only Galactic Starcruiser Superfan podcast on the interwebs. I'm Galactic Starcruiser Superfan Martin, and with me, as always, are...
Superfan Christine.
And Superfan Drew.
Well, we have a really fun, different kind of show for you today. Christine, can you tell us all about it?
Yeah, do you guys realize that when this episode airs, how close we are to our May 3rd voyage?
It will be less than 2 weeks when it airs on Friday.
Yes. So many things to do.
So much.
But we're talking to two passengers and two past guests of the Heroes of the Halcyon podcast. We're talking to Gabi and we're talking to Patrick. Now, both of them have created this amazing experience that they're going to be bringing to the ship that is an add-on basically to their characters and an add-on to the Starcruiser story.
Yeah, they actually made different experiences that are going to actually take place kind of within the universe that are going to be something that guests can do on the May 3rd and 4th voyage for extra fun.
Well, this is really fascinating because we've seen people try this in a limited capacity. We've heard stories about, people bringing in an extracurricular something or other with their character.
Yes.
But this is a whole different thing.
This is a whole other level. Now, I know this is an audio medium and people can't see me making gestures, but we're going up a ladder, people.
It's an imaginary ladder.
Yes.
Just go with it.
Well, before we go star cruising, let's send a shout out to all of our patrons at patreon.com/Heroes of the Halcyon. Your support is really appreciated and helps us put out the best show possible.
And now, let's go star cruising with Gabi and Patrick.
Well, Gabi, welcome back to Heroes of the Halcyon.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back.
Well, boy, on the subject of extracurricular, activities that passengers can do on the Halcyon, that are beyond the official mission, parameters.
Yeah.
This idea that Gabi has come up with and Patrick has come up with, these are some really interesting ways to enhance the Halcyon experience in your own direction.
Yeah, and you were mentioning this, Gabi, when we talked to you during the costuming episode that we did with you a few weeks back, and when we were thinking about what to do on the show, we're like, well, we know exactly who to call.
Exactly.
Gabi, how long have you been putting this particular concept together?
About 8 months. I've been actively building props for it for about 6 months. I just kind of kept getting bigger as I kept going, as more people got hyped and we had new ideas. So it just kind of kept growing until it's really turned into its own thing.
Scope creep is a real thing with a Galactic Starcruiser.
Yeah, that's how Martin had Dorks Are Cool. Suddenly he's making this entire space epic. And wait, oh my gosh, I need to sleep sometime.
Sleep is for the weak. I mean, we help people sleep. Come on.
I agree. I mean, when you go on Galactic Starcruiser, it's an expensive proposition. It takes time. You really want to make it all it can be. But this is something for the AAA personalities that really want to take it to the absolute top tier.
Well, and Star Wars and Starcruiser together combined is just one of those things that has seemed to really spark creativity in one form or another for anybody who's been on. I mean, everything from costuming and these, like we said, these extracurricular games to cosplaying, podcasts, all sorts of things just stem from this to where you think, I need more. If you're not going to be able to go to Starcruiser every day, I need to figure out how to make Starcruiser at home.
One of the things that it always just comes back to me is one of the main, catchphrases that they use on Starcruiser is ignite the spark, light the fire. And that is exactly what it's done to so many people that we've met in this past year.
So before we talk about what you're doing on the voyage, Gabi, what have you been doing for your character as you're getting ready for your second voyage here?
So I really turboed my costume design. After that episode I did, I kind of ripped apart half of it. Whenever I'm stressed out by school, that's exactly what I'm working on. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Fleshed out my backstory a little bit, although I know it's going to be mostly just for me because I have fun with it. And a lot of it has been, as I'm going to mention later, working on this game. So in addition to just trying to get myself ready and all my stuff together for that, trying to think about game design. And what was really funny is that I thought maybe I'd get like 8 people interested, put out in the group, and we have like 21 now, and there might be drop off or add on the ship. But I was just like, okay, so the thing I was going to do is going to break people in the room. So I had to come up with an additional idea of how to flesh that out and, continue to work with that number of people if we get that, but also be able to scale back if we get a smaller crowd without sacrificing any of the integrity of the experience. So this is where my background in like game design and interactive activities has really been helpful, because I kind of know how to set these things up, but I've never done something of this scale using like a Disney set. So that'll be a really cool experience.
Yeah, we don't get to use Disney sets all that often in our life, do we?
Well, as someone who's an incredible fan of embarrassingly deep Starcruiser character bios, Gabi, can you kind of just refresh our audience with some information on your character?
So my character is Captain Vesna Voss. She goes by the name Captain Vess or Vess as a nickname, mostly to allies. So she is a Twi'lek smuggler captain. She's captain of a ship called the Revenant. And she puts off this air of kind of being like a Malcolm Reynolds, like Firefly kind of character, where she pretends that she's only out there for the credits, but she's secretly also a captain of the Resistance. So she is kind of like started out, like a Firefly, Captain Reynolds kind of scoundrel kind of character, but deep down she also cares a lot about the Resistance, and she's secretly smuggling goods for the Resistance. So there's this idealism that she doesn't really show everybody, but she has her own objectives tied into that as well. So she is kind of a lovable rogue archetype, I would say. I try to make her witty and fun.
Well, she aims to misbehave.
Nice. So recently I got a chance to come up and visit you in Madison because my... Man, are you hearing that, Martin?
What's the feedback? What?
Weird.
Gabi, are you hearing that?
Yeah, I hear that on this side. What is that? Do you know?
Hold on a second. Oh, no, it's fine. We're good. So anyway, when I was up in Madison, I got a chance to sit down with you over coffee.
I'm hijacking this transmission. Respectable, disreputable scoundrels and resistance sympathizers. I'm Captain Vesna Voss of the Starship Revenant. I'm a galactic goods redistribution specialist. Never a smuggler. Would never be so smug. Friends and allies, though, they call me Vess, which is, if you can hear this, you are. Now listen up. I've got a secret mission for you all on May 3rd on the Halcyon. At 10:30 p.m., after the official on-ship festivities, it'll be in the Sublight Lounge. Either come find me on the ship on May 3rd before the evening, I'm a green Twi'lek, hard to miss, and get a special card with more information, or just meet me at Sublight Lounge that night. We've got to get a certain but to an legitimate businessman, whose name rhymes with condo, on our side, so we can smuggle some essential goods for the Resistance. Something tells me if we're not careful, this mission could blow us all away. So I need steady hands and good hearts. Join me, 10:30 p.m., May 3rd, Sublight Lounge. Win a sabacc, get some exclusive bounty, and save the galaxy with me and my crew. You got this, kids. Counting on you. And more than just me, the Resistance is counting on you. End transmission.
Well, that was weird.
Super fun. She sounds super extra, although I do love the voice. Where was that music coming from?
Nice.
So, Gabi, what made you decide to do a game like this, to spend that much time putting in that much detail to a game that you're playing one night?
Yeah, so I wanted to do it because I wanted to see if it could be done. I wanted to basically take this to the logical extreme. If I'm going to live my Star Wars adventure, can I make my own character mission? Is it even possible? Let's see. I really like to push boundaries and just kind of see what can be done, and I thought that would be a really fun thing to do. But the other and kind of more serious reason is that I know there's only a few characters on the ship that can give out missions. There's a lot of people on the ship, and not everyone has that kind of one-on-one time with characters just by sheer numbers. And, it's also challenging for someone, maybe they're quieter or maybe they just weren't lucky. So I thought it would be really fun to kind of create these opportunities for passenger-passenger interaction, so they get that sense of interactivity that they may or may not have been able to get in their overall missions. And if they did get that, then it just adds to it, right? So there is kind of like no lose. And then also, as a writer, as an actor, this is an extremely fun thing to be able to do. I did not, in all honesty, know it was going to take as much time as it ended up taking. I just going down a total rabbit hole on that one. Womp rat hole, I guess.
Yeah, nice.
But really, really, really enjoyed it.
Well, without going into spoilers, can you give our audience just a kind of a general overview of what your game entails?
I call it the Secret Scoundrel mission, although it isn't necessarily related just to the scoundrel path or any path because it's after hours. It can be flexible in that way. Without too many spoilers, I can say that it involves getting a mission card from my character or from Drew, as he's going to be a crew member of mine, or meeting us in the Sublight Lounge at the time, which is 10:30 p.m. on May the 3rd in the Sublight Lounge. So if people miss us, they still know when that time is. We've shared that throughout the group. So the idea is that that's how it starts. It's you get a card, it has a QR code on it that sends you to a website with some secret information about what the mission is and sets up what people can expect to do in the secret mission. So it's trying to kind of get that sense of, oh man, like you have like a secret invite, right? And kind of that face-to-face interaction with that. And then, and also like rewarding people who have interactions with me or interactions with Drew with the card. And then, so the game is Sabacc based. So I had to think critically about, all right, we have limited spaces we're allowed after hours, of course, because things have to eventually shut down. So Sublight Lounge was a really good place to do this. Basically, that was kind of the inspiration for that. So having kind of something that's Sabacc based that they can do, but it has to have a objective. So I can't tell you the exact objective because that would totally spoil the whole thing. I can say that it involves a certain legitimate Batuan scoundrel, as Vess mentioned. Businessman as he would prefer, and the name does rhyme with condo. So it's tied into kind of like scoundrelly stuff, it's tied into resistance stuff, but what you're doing that then leads into some of the activities on day 2, on Batu. While you're playing Sabacc, you're basically trying to help make that happen. So it sets up some of the events through narrative tie-in.
Nice.
And it's basically like a character mission, right? It's an additional character mission where you are critical for getting an important person on the side of the resistance to be able to make day 2 happen.
Wow. So you've taken the time to not only create something that revolves around Vess, but that actually is part of the Halcyon itself and the additional, and the missions that everybody has. Wow.
Well,
that's why
cool.
It took 8+ months to get that done.
There's a big old plot hole that I noticed in the story, and I'm like, let's just plug that in. I mean, let's just explain why this happens. Why do we do this particular thing on Batu that everyone has to do? So it's really cool because people might play that game, they don't know the story, but then they go on Batu and they're like, that's why I'm doing it, even though it didn't exist before. It just fills that slot, I think, pretty nicely.
One of people's absolute favorite moments on Starcruiser is the shoulder tap.
Oh, yeah.
From characters.
Yes.
And what I love about this idea is you've kind of engineered this as a shoulder tap from one passenger to another. I love that idea.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm hoping it makes people feel pretty excited and kind of special that they get singled out and kind of be able to more at scale, reach out to people. And and I also have a potential other shoulder tap activity I just thought about today that I might be adding into the mission that might be like 1 or 2 other people involved. So more things happening every single time. I just finished my last prop and it will be the last one. I promise.
No, it won't.
I don't believe you.
You will think of something tomorrow.
Do we need to make you sign something? Because I don't know.
Okay, can I step back just for a second? The Secret Scoundrel sounds like such an amazing title for like a Star Wars novel.
Yes, it does.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's fun. And then I've been releasing some videos as well in the group. So I've been working pretty hard on like promo. So hoping that gets people hyped.
And the videos have gotten pretty good response too on Facebook. So it's fun to see those. And I think it's going to be fun just because, again, seeing you on the video and just seeing some of your props and some of your costume that you've posted. I mean, if someone's new to the Voyage and maybe they haven't gone on Starcruiser before, I bet you they're going to think you're one of the actors. I'm sure. I almost called you Vess.
I'm not affiliated with Disney. I am not affiliated. I'll just put that as part of my costume, on my chest. Just not affiliated.
Right.
But yeah, that would be an amazing compliment.
Very nice.
The shoulder tap from management is the one shoulder tap we do not want on the Galactic Starcruiser.
And I'm very careful about that. So I'm actually posting an FAQ in the group tomorrow that kind of outlines this is not affiliated with Disney. This is not affiliated with the Halcyon. It is just for fun, but it's something that is optional that people can get involved in if they want to.
So let's say you're somebody that is interested in adding to the Halcyon Voyage, but they don't have quite the broad strokes of creativity that you have or the time. What would you suggest that they can do to kind of integrate themselves more into the voyage and the storyline and all that kind of stuff?
So broad, I think the best way to connect with their passengers is have a backstory. It doesn't need to be complex. It's just really fun. Like, just kind of have an idea of who you are, have an idea what planet you're from, have an idea of kind of like a one sentence blurb about what you're about, because that helps you kind of connect with people in a world way. If you want to get immersed deeper, it's a really fun way to do. And I always like to recommend that people are kind of struggling about like, what even would my backstory be? You know, put your profession or put your hobbies or put yourself, but in Star Wars. Like, a good example I always like to give is like, if someone's a forest ranger, now you work with the Ewoks. You're protecting Endor. Or if someone is an accountant, maybe you're an accountant on Coruscant, which is a big city planet, and you secretly work with like some evil guys on the side, but don't tell anybody. Like, if you want to make it spicy, right? So there's like things that you can do. So I always say, like, extrapolate who you are, but like put yourself in a galaxy far, far away. And if you're thinking about what planet you're from, think about where you live. If you live in the desert, maybe you're from Batu. If you live in a cold place, like I'm really cold right now, maybe I'm off. You know, it's like, so I think like, you know, you can take inspiration from your life. And it doesn't have to be a really big backstory. It could be something small. Good way to kind of tie into things, and also be genuinely interested in other passengers. So like, ask them where they're from. If they say Kansas, like, don't force them to come up with a Star Wars thing.
Sure.
But it's a fun way to kind of like try to, you know, figure out what they're about. And if they are kind of playing along, you know, like play along with them and kind of have that kind of yes and improv attitude that, you know, even without any kind of training, you can just be open and have that attitude. And then that will help you connect to people. And then going more like specific, if you don't have time to do a whole game, which I totally understand, or you don't want to kind of like dive that deep into it, you could look at something like, a lot of people will hide like little porgs around the ship that's super cute, or they'll do like little crafts. Or another thing they'll do is like they'll make little things, or they'll, you know, even sometimes purchase little things and then hand them out as part of their character. So maybe their character is a smuggler and they hand out chance cubes, or maybe their character is somebody was like a porg biologist and she had like these cute little porgs and she's just like, I'm relocating them into the wild. So I thought that was brilliant. So you can make these really cool kind of tie-ins to your character, and that kind of helps you bridge that gap. So if you're not really sure like kind of what to say to somebody, because they're all strangers, right? It's a good way to kind of like ease that interaction by saying like, hey, like, do you want like a Bacta vial? So I think that that's a really good way to do that. And that can kind of create that immersiveness without the need for a really intensive thing. I'm just a little nuts. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, I love going back to an earlier Sublight Circle. Brian Shapiro, the dentist,
Fantastic.
Yes, yes.
he brought dental floss that, you know, had Arbesh on it. And he also brought that giant toothbrush to use with Chewbacca, you know, because he was thinking ahead.
May the floss be with you, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
Exactly. And then, Martin, I love what you did. That keychain you had for your failed movie.
My one failed movie. People loved it. It was crazy.
And that just because every episode is somebody's first episode. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was, Martin?
Yeah, in my one sentence description, my character is, you know, I'm a holovid director within the Star Wars universe, and I created holovids of what historical events that we know as Star Wars. And to kind of parallel a certain real life director who had a not so successful venture called Howard the Duck, I have had one as well called Polly the Porg. and the story goes that I have warehouses and warehouses on planets of unsold Polly the Porg merchandise. And I recreated the Howard the Duck poster with Polly the Porg, and it's really kind of hilarious looking.
Oh, it is so funny. And just people went nuts over it.
People went nuts over it. It's funny that when you can smile at yourself and just wink and nod at yourself, I mean, I think that helped. But Gabi, you said something really, really key, is if you want people to, you know, kind of take an interest in your character, start by taking an interest in theirs. Listen to what they have to say. And one of the biggest keys I can have to have success talking with other passengers is if you have a backstory. And then that's an if. Have, you know, we call it the elevator pitch. Have the one sentence summary of who your character is. If they're still interested, great. Have a 3-sentence expansion of who that character is. And if they get past 3 sentences, you can talk as long as you want. Sure. But you got to have a really short, concise, who are you? And I think, you know, that helps. And again, if you get past that first question, have a little teeny bit more.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a great point because it also helps you avoid like info dumping. So like if you put your like tippy toe in there and you can kind of see how receptive someone is, that's great. But you don't want to get the situation where you're like, here is my 20-page backstory, and the other person has like, dead fish eyes because they're just like, oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think that's a really good way to kind of get a sense of just kind of like, is this person willing to play with me? And if they are, that's cool. If they're not, that's cool. And then kind of adapt accordingly. Because some people don't want to LARP.
Right.
LARPing is live action role playing. So people don't necessarily want to pretend that they're actually in Star Wars. They're just there to vibe, which is totally valid. But it helps you kind of feel out what the other person's about. And I do think kind of starting with like, what's your character is a great way to make friends and connections.
Cool.
And talking about friends and connections, some of the best ideas I've had about my particular character have come from the community. Like a couple months ago, we're talking just with this group of listeners that, and one of them had this fantastic idea of why don't you have cast and crew information on your, like in real life, directors have got cast and crew stuff. Why don't you have that on? Now people can just look at me and they see every one of my holovids and it's instantaneous. Oh, I get what this guy's doing.
It also doesn't hurt that you greatly resemble George Lucas. So you've got that built-in kind of thing that's helping you.
Please tell me you have a director's chair with your character's name on the back of it that you just carry with you everywhere.
Oh my God. I'm Etsy, I'm Etsy right now. Yeah. We can ship it to Florida. It'll get there in time. Frankly, that is hilarious.
Well, and here's the thing too, is that you never know when you are somebody's spark. I mean, we've talked again ad nauseum about the fact that when we first went on the voyage, I had no knowledge of cosplay. I had no idea what I was doing. But because of the people that I talked to on the ship, because I elected to just kind of let go and play, it's opened up a completely new world for me. And you just don't know. Maybe just a very basic conversation with somebody who they kind of want to play, but they kind of don't. So they bought the robe, but they really don't know what to say. You might be the one that encourages them just through general conversation to be like, okay, this is really cool. I think I can do this. I think I can play.
And I think a big thing is like, I see it sometimes in costuming groups where people they're excited, but they don't really know where to start, or they're maybe a little intimidated because there's just so much information. I probably shouldn't pop into all these threads, but I do sometimes, and I'm just kind of like, you can do this. Like, it doesn't need to be intimidating. It can be super simple. And also just making the point that it's about engagement. It's not about costuming unless you want it to make it about costuming. The experience will meet you where you're at. And I think that Starcruiser has a really positive community, which is fantastic. Just a lot of people who are interested in sharing, interested in collaborating together on these ideas.
Well, I have to ask, we're just a couple weeks away from our Starcruiser voyage together and this experience becoming a real life thing for you. Are you already thinking about version 2?
This is my beta. If it blows up, I'll know. That's important information. As a scientist, that's important information for me. So yeah, I mean, this is a group of a lot of really, really excited people because it's May the 4th, right? There's a lot of hype is high. So interest in interactivity is probably going to be at an all-time high. So it's a really good group to kind of test this with, and they'll be able to see, okay, like, assume that we have like these many people that show up, like, how does this work? What could be better? And then like tweak it and refine it from that stage. So I think that information is going to be really exciting. So in my FAQ tomorrow, I'm going to be like, so it is going to be super experimental. Things will blow up, hopefully metaphorically, but it will be fun. We'll learn a lot.
Well, if someone wanted to be one of your beta testers, how would they find you and go about that?
If you are on the voyage with me, I will be a green Twi'lek wearing blue face paint and an Arubish graffitied coat. So I'm extremely colorful and conspicuous. You would go up to me and I would see that you're keen, and I would give you a card that would then kind of give you the information about the game. I will also repeat when the game is in case someone doesn't find me and hears this. 10:30 p.m. May 3rd, Sublight Lounge. There's going to be a big old flag of a Loft Wolf at one of the booths that I made. So just go there and you'll see a group of people gathering for that. So there's that. And then if you are part of the May the 3rd Facebook group, or you become part of that, you can also join our event page. We'll have more information about kind of where to meet, although now you know that, but also some fun posts I'm putting in there as well as an FAQ. So if you aren't going in the Voyage and you are interested in this, I am on Facebook in the groups. I'm pretty active. Gabi Fleury. You can go ahead and send me a DM or get in touch that way. And if you have any ideas or you just want to learn more, I'm always happy to chat.
Well, Gabi, I can't wait to be on the ship with you. I'm super excited for Drew Vox to see Captain Vess again, because it's been a while since I've seen her or he's seen her. It's so hard when you're putting other characters together. Well, good deal. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, and looking forward to seeing you.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Patrick. So great to have you back.
Thanks for asking me back.
Of course, we're super excited, as always, to have people who've been on Sublight Circles at least twice. Why wouldn't we want to have you on a third time? In fact, what are you doing next week?
Right now, in 2 weeks, there's going to be some stuff happening.
And it's funny, I've had that same thought several times over the last couple of Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm like, okay, about this time, we're going to be doing this then, and we're going to be doing this then. So it wasn't until Justin and Naomi's recent episode, Justin pointed out that, that second day is going to be
rough,
really, really rough, just because we're all going to be like saying goodbye and hugging, and they're going to be trying to get us to get the F out.
I think day 3 is going to be the hardest day, because even once everything ends on night 2, there's already going to be some other stuff planned. People are going to be doing some fun stuff.
Yep.
We are actually, to get on topic, we are actually planning to have enough stuff to do what we've planned both nights.
Oh, wow.
We just don't know how it's going to play. We're going to kind of play it by ear. If it goes great the first night, let's go the second night.
Well, that's a great way to segue into the conversation, Patrick. It's like you've done this podcast with us before. This is great. But so you had mentioned on Facebook that you and, is it your father-in-law?
Yes, my father-in-law, David.
So you and David had been planning to do some sort of extra narrative type adventure. When did you guys get the idea to do something like this?
We went in mid-January. He surprised me on night 2 by inviting me to go on the May 3rd, 4th, and 5th trip with him. And when we got back, we were sort of reminiscing about what we did, what we loved, what was different. For me, one of my highlights was giving, like sort of having those experiences, seeing the light in somebody else's eyes when you do something for them. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Did anybody do anything fun for you guys on either of your voyages? Did you have some sort of extracurriculars that happened that maybe inspired some of what you guys were thinking about? Or
no, some people walked up to us on day 3. We were just sitting eating breakfast. We were kind of by ourselves, sulking, and a family, the person I mentioned, Chet, that I handed off to Wraith, she walked up while her family kind of stood beside and said, "Thank you. We thought you guys were a part of it. You were first in line. You were in costume. You were giving stuff out. You were helping people. Like, you guys made this so much more fun. So thank you." And we were just kind of in awe, because that's not what we were trying to do. It just turns out that was a fun way for me to experience it.
Oh, that's great. So what did you give out on that second voyage? What were you guys handing out?
I was handing out credits. I found an STL file. A buddy has a resin printer. He printed me up 50 sets of those credits. I wrote on a piece of paper, and then he scanned that. That image got put into the back of the big silver credit, sort of like etched. So it is my handwriting.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's my Instagram name in Arabic.
Nice.
So when I would give it to other people, cast, characters, other passengers, I could tell them, "Hey, if you want to look me up on the holowebs, make sure your translator works." I didn't have to break character.
Right.
It's basically my business card.
Yeah.
It's my personal social media point of contact for how I feel comfortable engaging with people. So it was an easy way for me to just, it was a prop.
So was there a good response to that, Patrick, when you handed those things out, I assume?
Oh, for anyone who didn't know what they were, it just looked like money.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It was just a prop. But then a couple days later, all of a sudden I started getting a bunch of friends of reaching out.
Nice.
And that's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. I do love, we haven't talked about this on the show very much. Clearly that's something the actors are trained to do, that they're not portraying Wraith, they're friends of Wraith, or they're friends of Sammy. So that's interesting. I don't know if there's any connection to that in the LARPing world, if that's something they got from that, but that's super cool the way they do that.
That is interesting. And frankly, something else, this is just kind of like an onion revealing itself. But if someone contacts Patrick in this particular case after the voyage, it means they had to actually take that credit and take the time to translate it.
Right.
And understand what that is. And so that tells me, boy, that it's kind of fun that, like you said, Patrick, is some people have no idea what you're handing them. It's just a fun little trinket. But some people really do get, this is credit. This is in-universe funds.
Sure.
And it's kind of fun to see, there's no right or wrong answer for what level of Star Wars people are into.
Right.
But it's kind of fun to see where people are at in that scale.
Yeah, that's cool. Did the captain or did anybody get upset that you were defacing New Republic money?
Oh, it was not New Republic money.
Oh, I see.
It was old credits. It was the style that you only see on screen in the Clone Wars cartoon show.
Nice.
That's interesting. I know exactly which episode you're talking about. The corruption with the that was a good one. What we've heard from other people in the past, because we kind of keep track of these things, is that other people have kind of tried, out of structured storyline events of their own. We've heard about this in a limited capacity, but that's something that's kind of different about this voyage. I mean, this has got the AAA Starcruiser superfans on this particular voyage. So we're seeing this concept kind of elevated in a significant way. Both Patrick and Gabi, to me, from what I have seen, are elevating this significantly past.
I haven't seen anybody do this level of stuff that they're talking about.
So this is going to be fascinating to me. I mean, I'd actually like to have kind of a follow up to see what went right. What could you be doing differently? I mean, I think this is just a fascinating experiment. I actually think this is something that I'm really kind of thinking about. How this works.
Sure.
How could this be something? I mean, this is something that's interesting for me, and definitely not for this trip. My gosh. But this is such a fascinating, fun way to just kind of have a different Starcruiser experience.
Sure.
What we wanted to do was we thought about times that we just were sitting around, that we had the most interaction with other people, and it was in the sublight. That by far, you just hang out and meet more people just talking in the sublight. So that's where we wanted to do it. Then what do you do in a bar, especially in Star Wars? Well, there's a Halasabak table there. And then like a bunch of these cards and dominoes just all sort of like led to the idea that we had when we were sitting at dinner on night 1. When Wraith walked in, he mentioned something about, oh, you're David, you're part of that syndicate, because he kind of knew who my father-in-law was. So he actually kind of gave us the idea of like, hey, organized something.
Okay.
And so that kind of birthed the backstory. And then what could we do? Story, reason. That all sort of like dominoes all sort of fell. Nice. How much do you guys want to know?
Well, yeah, Patrick, I'd love to hear whatever you can tell us. Tell us a little bit about what you got planned.
So first things first, it's gonna be.
Wait, sorry, Pat. Did you guys hear that?
What is going on?
It's happening again.
I'm hearing it.
Hold on a second. Okay, I think I got it fixed now.
David, I found a signal that got boosted. No one will be able to trace us since it was already hacked.
Excellent. This is the Syndicate. We are everywhere. We see everything. The Syndicate will be on board the Halcyon May 3rd through 5th looking for new recruits.
We trade in ultra-rare items. We've collected many of our treasures to entice new recruits. Even some...
Tap. That's enough. We have varied and complex interests, so we're looking for capable and quick-thinking recruits. The trials will be innocent enough and disguised as card games.
We test guile and steel with Sabak, adaptability and strategy with Pazak. The games will be invitation only.
To gain an invitation, one must make themselves known to both Tap and I, recite the phrase, "I wish to see all and go everywhere," and be ready to ensure the success of the syndicate in all its interests.
See you soon, travelers.
Why does that keep happening? We got to work on the security in this place.
I suppose I shouldn't have set the security to 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's the password an idiot would use on their luggage.
Well, anyway, Patrick, my apologies. What were you saying?
We're doing something in the Sublight Lounge after everything has settled down, after muster and the events that occur around muster. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to take that group photo, and we're going to get set up. Our backstory, the easiest way that I can describe it is we are sort of Dr. Aphra Inc. Rare antiquities, morally loose, not going to stop after trying to get something that we want, but also not going to purposely do something horrible. But we are looking for recruits. We have some particular missions that we have in mind.
Nice.
And we're looking for a particular skill set, and we want to try to disguise that. The Sabak game is going to start it out. We've built it to scale a little bit, but we can max out at about 10 people each night.
Oh, that's awesome.
And if it works,
sure.
If we hear that a bunch of people are just not interested in doing it the second night, there's just too much other stuff going on, we could possibly just expand it the first night. That would be a little bit harder. One of the things I made, because I realized we're making essentially space poker, we needed to have our own chips.
Nice.
So I learned 3D modeling and I built some poker chips. David designed a logo, which is on everything just about that we're bringing, and it's on those poker chips. And I made 100 of them and painted 100 of them. And so if we max out each night, we can accommodate 2 games of 5. Once we get a winner from each of those tables, we're going to switch to Pazak. That's going to be testing how much somebody can change their strategies and maybe win another game, right? Like, I don't really care what the in-world reason is too much. I think it's just really fun to switch it up and, well, this is the deal now.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, wow. So I think we heard the syndicate using those poker chips in their little interruption they did there. I think that's probably what we heard.
Was that what it was?
I think that was it. I think that was probably what it was.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those floating around.
So just trying to get an idea of physicality of how this event is going to go. Are you planning on using the hollow Sabak table, or are you going to have physical Sabak decks?
We are bringing 2 of our own Sabak decks. We're going to take a booth or 2, depending on the space that's available. Probably going to be packed. So if somebody wants to move into the atrium, I am perfectly fine moving into the atrium, because I will get my drinks and make my way out there and use the seats out there.
This is super important. I think that you're doing exactly the right thing.
Sure.
Because I don't think you can count on the hollow Sabak table ever being available.
Oh, no. Right. That's why when as soon as you said, Patrick knows, he was there. He's been there twice. He knows that hollow Sabak table
that's exactly the way to do it.
Is used the whole time.
The first time I went in, what was that? I guess March of 22. I sat at the hollow Sabak table super early in the morning and not again ever.
Yeah, we had the same experience on our Voyage 2. We were lucky enough to get there early the first day and then never again.
Yep.
See, I think that's one thing. If you're ever going to have one of these structured events, you got to remember to plan around the usage patterns of everyone else there.
Sure.
And have it be something that you can count on. I think that's smart.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got a pivot in place, like you said, Patrick. So you're going to be flexible, because when you do things like this, you have to be able to roll with whatever. Because what's that saying that Mike Tyson says? No plan ever survives a punch in the mouth.
Well, I was trying to take. This is the first time I've really LARPed, right? But I'm trying to take that to heart, and I'm going to yes and everybody.
Nice, that's awesome.
So I always want to be able to yes and still play my game. To be perfectly honest, I would love for it to be too popular and have to move out into the atrium. and then have people show up and go, hey, what the heck's going on over there?
Right.
And then next thing you know, we get a group. I would personally love that.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's a smart pivot because the atrium, you can usually count on there being some space available there.
Somebody wants to come up to their room to buy something from the gift shop or get a snack, and there's some people going, oh,
Yeah.
when somebody gets a good turn.
Nice.
That's smart.
So I know that you've talked, or we heard the syndicate give us instructions on some of the other stuff. Are there other ways that you and David are advertising this? I've seen some of the stuff on Facebook.
Once this podcast airs, I'm going to start blasting on social media. I'm going to use the Facebook group.
Nice.
My character, as was mentioned, Tap. His name is Kier Tap, which is Patrick backwards.
Nice.
Tap has his own Instagram, and I'm going to start blasting on that.
Cool. Cool.
I'm hoping that, when you guys reached out, I thought that this was going to be the biggest sound boost that I could have imagined.
Well, Tate, we're happy to boost your signal at any time. I mean, the Starcruiser people are the best people.
He's got us trained. It's like Pavlov's dog.
So, and then one of the things that I'm definitely going to probably blast a lot is the rules to Pazak.
So for Pazak, are you doing the Fizbin variant? I just made that up. Sorry.
You had me there for a second.
Yeah.
I was squirming in my seat.
All three of us were, Patrick.
Well, and again,
I was Googling Fizzbang variant.
No, David actually bought a set of Pazak from our mutual friends, Hyperspace Props.
Nice.
Mike
perfect.
and Emily.
That's
Yay.
great. That's great. Sure.
But, Starcruiser people are the best people, like you just said.
They are indeed. They are. Well, that'll be a fun game to teach people on the fly, just to see how well they get the rules down in a short period of time. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, I know has this made your prep for this third voyage more fun? Has it been, obviously you're putting a lot of work into it. Has that been part of your enjoyment of the experience?
Absolutely. I've been thinking about how I'm going to let people know about it. I've gotten to learn new skills. I talked with Ramy from the Dad Batch online, and he suggested getting Fusion 360 so that I can do some 3D modeling. Because I got Fusion 360, I was able to sort of go wild and start thinking about all sorts of stuff that I could put together and get for the trip.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I just love hearing how people are getting these skill sets because of Starcruiser that they never would have had.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore this explosion of creativity.
Yeah, well, for the last trip, I bought my first paints, like acrylic paints, and I bought my first paintbrushes, and I made my first wet palette, and I learned how to put layers and prime and that sort of thing. And this time around, I'm learning 3D modeling. And
so now that you've gone through all this, what do you think, Patrick, if there was somebody that was coming on, maybe it's their first voyage, maybe it's their third voyage, but they want to do something to engage with other passengers, but they don't necessarily have either the time or possibly even the interest in learning like a new skill, let's say, and buying equipment and all that kind of stuff. What kind of things would you suggest that somebody do to put themselves out there and really be able to interact with other people on the ship?
If somebody doesn't have the ability, you could always do something simple like river rocks. There's a lot of rock moving in the climate simulator.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get something simple like rocks, and I don't know if you have a Dremel, but you could always try to etch an initial on there or something like that.
I got to tell you, what you just said, Patrick, we have never heard anyone say ever is building off the rock experience inside the climate simulator. We have never heard anyone say that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me as to how you would take that and just kind of extend it another step.
Well, and building on your idea, just things dropped into my head. I mean, maybe somebody wants to hand out recipes for blue and green milk that they like, and they want to hand out recipe cards.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, in-universe recipe cards.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's
wow.
fantastic.
Yeah, and then maybe somebody wants, because that doesn't take a huge amount. I mean, we've heard people, Gabi mentioned people, hiding porgs, which I think is a fabulous tradition that comes from the Disney cruise area. Maybe, specialized little trinkets. They don't have to be anything major. Maybe, but yeah.
You could go to your local hobby shop and get little crystals, toy crystals, and hammer them and break them into smaller pieces and say, "Oh, I found this is like a broken crystal." A broken kyber
crystal.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Giving kids broken glass. I like it. I like it.
Oh, it's plastic. It's plastic.
Just for the record, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. But and again, I mean, if any of these ideas inspire anybody, we'd be thrilled, obviously. But that's what we're talking about, Patrick, and that your idea with the river rocks, that's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Because it's something easy to do, and it's you don't have to have things spoiled for you. You don't have to know a lot, but that's anything you could do just to enhance your appreciation of the voyage and work trying to enhance the appreciation of the other people who go with you, like you did for Chet. That's really cool.
Yeah.
If you want to say thank you to the cast and crew, a lot of times smaller items are going to be better for them, so that they can just kind of put it in their pocket because they can't always go behind the scenes.
Right.
I've spoken with a friend of, and I've been told that they do have places that they can put things off stage in case they get them.
So something that I always try to do whenever I give something to the cast, whenever possible, I always give it to them somewhere in and around the atrium so that if they have to put it away somewhere, they can immediately just take it to the guest services and put it right behind the desk there. That's an easy out for them because again, they can't carry everything that they're handed. I mean, these folks, not everyone gives stuff to the cast and crew, but enough people do that. But do remember your cast, do remember your crew.
And always tip your waiter. Sorry, I always said that, but yeah.
Nelson, we love you.
No, people care about this stuff.
Yeah.
This matters to some people. And if it makes one person's trip a little bit better, I'm doing it.
Well, Patrick, this sounds like just a fascinating new way to have the Starcruiser experience and enhance it, not just for you, but for the other passengers. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
I'm super excited to see if it all works according to plan. We'll see. I'm flexible, and with the amount of super fans that are going to be there, I know it's going to be a good time. It just may not go all according to plan.
And that's part of the fun too. So just embrace that when it happens, because crazy things happen all the time.
Lasso the whirlwind.
Well, cool. Patrick, thanks again for joining us, and we're super excited to see you in a couple of weeks.
I can't wait to see you guys on May 3rd. And I challenge you to beat me to the gate.
Challenge accepted.
Wow, what creativity.
I actually want to do a follow-up episode with them after the voyage just to see exactly how this went down.
Well, we're going to get to see how it went down. What are you talking about?
That's
we're going to get to
live
be
and in person.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be there with them. And again, the good news is it doesn't matter if it doesn't go exactly according to plan. And it doesn't matter if it goes a little sideways, because that's part of the fun, right?
I actually want to learn the lessons that they kind of figured out as to how to the best optimize this, because I think this is a fantastic thing to consider on future voyages is how can you kind of extend the experience. So I'm really curious to kind of do a post-mortem with them about what went right, what went wrong.
Yeah.
And again, it sounds to me like they both can think on the fly and they're both prepared for things to go sideways, as they absolutely will.
Well, our hats off to you guys. These are really cool ideas, and we're super excited to see what you got planned for everybody.
Next, I want you to plan on what we do when we get back and how you extend it from home.
Right, exactly. Well, if people wanted to share their ideas and talk to us about their stories of their time on the Halcyon, how would they do so, Christine?
You can always email us at heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com. And you can find us on Instagram at Heroes of the Halcyon, on Twitter at Halcyon_heroes, and on YouTube at Heroes of the Halcyon.
Well, the Halcyon always needs heroes, so thanks for tuning in. It's always fun shooting the poodoo with all the Starcruiser superfans out there. So until next episode, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses with the Halcyon toast. Tabuite!